What is up, YouTube? McIntyre here. Today I wanted to bring you guys an Anub'arak video, as Anub'arak has recently been updated in the most recent patch. I have not gone over a patch video just yet, but I will post in the description below the PTR review of this patch. I haven't gone over it since it's gone live, but most of the stuff has stayed the same. And a few things with Anub'arak has changed. A few of his talents have changed, and I think they've placed him into an even stronger position within the meta. One thing that I've also noticed for this meta in particular is that mages are starting to see resurgence, especially heroes like Kel'Thas and Chromie. Both of these heroes have a very difficult time dealing with Anub'arak, and for that reason, I think that this hero is incredibly powerful at the moment, and honestly an easy way for you to get wins in Hero League if drafted correctly. So make sure that if you are taking Anub'arak, you're not just first picking this guy, because the other team can counter him. I would say that the counters to Anub'arak are probably just melee damage in general, and heroes that are difficult to hit. So things like, a Tracer, just autoing him would be hard to hit. Or a better example probably would be something like Vala. Vala is hard for Anub'arak because hitting a Q or E on Vala can be difficult, especially considering she has Tumble, right? So, very good against mages, but if the other team drafts even like melee heroes, I think do very well against him, like melee assassins, as he is a bit squishy. So if you have a heavy hitting hero attacking him, then he sometimes, honestly, he can trade up on a heavy hitting, but those are the heroes that deal well with Anub'arak, right? Whereas like against a Chromie's gonna have a harder time against Anub'arak. So anyways, I kind of wanted to talk about what he's good against and then what he's weak against. So now we'll go into builds. There are two builds that I want to go over today. The first build is going to be the solo tank build, or the 4-man build. So this is essentially the build if you're in the rotation, the 4-man, if you're not solo laning, more or less. This is the build that you normally are going to see Anub'araks go. So at level 1, we're going to be taking Nerubian armor. This is pretty much good all the time since you already have base spell armor. You get more spell armor every 8 seconds, which is really powerful. There's a lot of things in this game that do spell damage. Like Greymane's go for the throat is spell damage, right? Things like that that you don't think about being spell damage. Even like Sonya's spear, that's spell damage. So Nerubian armor negates most of that damage. Why we take it at level 1. At level 4, we are going to be taking Bed of Barbs. So this creates a Bed of Barbs that slows enemies and deals damage. This spikes resist for 3.5 seconds. So one thing that is important about this talent that I really like, let me see if I can refresh forts. It should spawn the minions. One thing that I really like about this talent is it's really good for wave clear. So when the lane's coming at you, you can spike it, and then you see how the minions kind of stand within the Bed of Barbs? It's more or less like a good way to wave clear on Anub'arak. It also is just really good for zone control. So if I were to, let's say, spike someone that's running up, right? Then if they were to try to run around that corner, they would have to walk through that Bed of Barbs, which can be a problem sometimes. There's a lot of times like on maps like Sky Temple, right? Think about the bottom shrine on Sky Temple. If you Bed of Barbs that, then the other team has to walk through it, right? So Curse Hollow has a lot of these throttles, a lot of these maps do, and for that reason, I think this talent is really powerful. At level 7, we're going to be taking Subterranean Shield. So every time you shield, you're going to get every time you dig, you're going to get a shield, sorry. So this essentially is going to help. The reason why I call this the 4-man, the solo tank, is because most of the times you will be digging in. It's not always a lead dig in. I normally don't lead with a dig on Anub'arak. It's mostly like, for me, it's fishing for a Q. And then if the Q hits, then you would dig in, right? But the main purpose of this is that, you're giving yourself a bigger health pool, and you're going to be harder to kill, which Anub'arak, again, is a little squishy, so making it difficult for the enemy team to kill you is obviously going to always help you out in situations where you're using your escape to engage, right? It's kind of like with Murden. If you dig in or if you jump in on Murden, you want to make sure that you can be in there, right? If you jump in and you're not supposed to be there, then you're going to die. So be careful about that. But again, most of the time I fish for a Q, and then if my Q hits, right, then you can follow it up with your E. It's pretty good engage. So at level 10, we are going to take the Locust Swarm talent. This is going to just basically put a Burning Rage around you in AoE and heal you every time an enemy is damaged. The AoE obviously is really big, as you can see here on this circle. I think some people think that it's like, you know, a mediocre circle, but it's pretty sizable. And the important thing about this talent is that it heals you off of everything around you. So if you're soloing a boss and you hit this, it's only going to tick off the boss heal, right? But if you're soloing a boss on, let's say, Warhead Junction, where it spits out those little poison guys, and it hits all of those, it will heal for every one of those. So important heroes that this is possibly good against are like things like Arthas, because of his Army of the Dead, right? Your bugs would hit every Army of the Dead summon, and you would get a heal. Gazlo is another one. Funny enough, like if you're in quick match and you're against Anub'arak, right? Because you're gonna hit all of those. Even like Nazebo, if Nazebo walls you and you hit this button, you're gonna get a bunch of heal, right? So it's important to know that. Another thing is that if you can use it and stand in a minion wave, you're gonna get a lot more heal too. If you're in a team fight and like even if you have to go into the enemy's minion wave, you're probably gonna heal more than you take, right? By standing there. Plus, most of the time the enemy minions attack your Beetle, so you won't even be getting damaged anyways. So I really like this talent. I mean, this is your team fight talent. This is what creates, you know, makes Anub'arak a threat. Also, loss to sustain, a really good talent. Kind of breaching off really quick to talk about, because I kind of just went on a tangent into a second point. You can dive with Anub'arak really easy. So yes, this Arthas is under a keep, right? But if I were to dig behind him, like Anub'arak has basically Sylvanas passive, in the sense that your Beetles tank the towers. So I always look at Anub'arak as Sylvanas passive. His passive is the same thing. Obviously, the Beetles deal damage, but if you get the idea, you can dive buildings, you can push buildings the same way you can push with Sylvanas. So always remember that, right? If you have 3 people bottom and the other team showing top, then you can just push with Anub'arak and get a fort, or even get keeps. You can even get keeps, or you can dive, or you know, obviously getting value with boss is not the same, but when you're pushing, Anub'arak does the same thing that Sylv does. So always remember that you can dive past the fort or something if someone has a flank, and you can find a pick. This is just I wanted to bring it up because it's a very important key element to Anub'arak's base kit. So at 13, there's 2 different talents here, honestly. I mean, Acid Drenched Mandibles is really good. But I kind of like Burning Rage. I mean, I actually like Burning Rage more, I want to say, than the Spines talent. So before, you know, we would get the talent, I don't even think, okay, yeah. So we would get this Chitness Plating, and this would decrease the cooldown of our W every time we took damage from abilities. But since we don't take that anymore, then this talent doesn't get as much value because we used to, you know, get more W's off. So now I think Burning Rage is probably the better of the 2 if you want AoE damage. And then if you want single target damage, Acid Drench is really good. This talent is more so if your team has slows. So we're seeing a lot of Anub Arthas, for example. I think if you have Anub Arthas, then Acid Drenched is valuable. But even then, I still think Burning Rage is really powerful. It also allows you to, as Anub'arak proxy lanes, which not all heroes can do, but with Burning Rage you can do it. I'll show you super quick. So again, the same thing, right, with the minions. Where are the minions at? I'll go minions. Same thing with the minions, right, that we talked about before. When the minions line up, you can hit your Beta Barbs on the wave. And then if you stand in the wave, obviously, you know, Malfurion rooted that there, but his root, you know, didn't do that much damage. It was mostly me doing the damage. But anyways, you can proxy a wave that way if you Beta Bars and then stand in it with the Burning Rage. It just kills the wave immediately. It's really nice. It's really powerful. So I personally have been taking Burning Rage, but I've played around with both Acid and Burning Rage this patch. At 16, it's mostly going to be Epicenter. I mean, we get a bigger impact area, which is, I think, the most important part of the talent. And you just get upside with the fact that if you hit people, it decreases the cooldown of E. With this patch, they've decreased the cooldown of E already. So it's on 12 seconds. So if you hit like 2-3 people, it's like a 6-second cooldown. That's a lot of pressure, right? It used to be like instant if you hit all 5. I don't think it's that now, right? It would be on a 2-second. But still, I think the impact area is what's important here. And just being able to hit people more often, increase your hit rate, which is really good. But with that said, debilitation is really powerful, and this is where, when you talk about things like Chromie and stuff, this is where this talent gets a lot of value. Just hitting Chromie with this will slow her damage down, or Gul'dan, or even some of these heroes that you wouldn't think this would be good against. It can still help, right? Like if you hit Arthas with this, it's gonna hurt his E damage, right? If you hit Dahaka with this, it's gonna hurt his W damage. So you're still taking damage away from people by taking this talent. So if you really trust yourself on your E, debilitation's good. I mean, I've been playing with both. I think Epicenter's probably better. And then at 20, since they basically gutted the hardened from this guy, I want to say it's between Rewind and Hive Master. I'm probably always going to go Rewind. That's just the way I like playing. But you will see a lot of players take Hive. I don't know. It's so hard for me to take Hive nowadays. I've tried them both. I tried Hive one game. I tried Rewind. But with Rewind, what it allows you to do really is, like, if you hit a stun, right, you can go in, then Rewind. And you get like 3 seconds of stun. I mean, it's a good way to one-shot someone, right? Because you would get your knock stun, and then you get a stun from here. And honestly, you can then you can E again, but it also allows you to E out, so you can go in, and if you hit, you can E out, right? Just like Murden, I mean, I feel like the character has enough built-in sustain that by adding Rewind to the kit, you basically give yourself a get out of jail card, right? You're going to be able to rewind and get out if the other team pressures you. You technically could take Nullification Shield, but you already have built-in Spell Armor, plus you're getting Spell Armor level 1. So all this is giving you is 100% Spell Armor for 5 seconds, which just seems unnecessary since you already have so much. When you can either give yourself, built-in sustain every 3 seconds, or you can give you, a rewind and an additional stun, an additional shield. Even you're getting another shield. You're getting another shield off of your E, right? So you're getting an E shield plus a W shield, then a rewind. You get my point. So this is the solo tank build. I'll show it really quick at the bottom again. So if you guys want that, and then we'll go over now, we'll reset talents, and this is the solo lane 1v1 build. I think both are honestly really powerful. You can even just go this build as solo tank if you want. The two talents, I'm going to bring up Resilient Scarabs. So this could potentially be a tech talent against Rag or Dahaka, because this is going to make your Scarabs harder for them to kill with their AoE. But only in those two cases would I take this talent. For the most part, I think Nubian Armor is still better. But against those two, you'll see why we will take this talent. So for the example of this, so we take Resilient Scarabs, and now we're going to take Legion of Beetles. So automatically spawns Beetles every 8 seconds. And we're going to now take Leeching Scarabs. So now our Beetles not only get bonus attack damage, but they heal us when they hit people. So what this does is this gives us sustain in lane. Now we can trade with Rag. And Rag has a harder time killing these Beetles than he normally would, This also gives us a potential to dive. We can wave clear with Beetles. We can jungle with Beetles. It's basically just beasting up our Beetles, right? And for the most part, everything else stays the same now. So we'll take Locust Swarm. You can take Acid or Burning. You can take Epi or Debilitating. This is Beetlejuiced is a little different now, and it honestly could be good. for this build in particular. So every 3 basic attacks you spawn a Beetle, right? So if we were to, you know, just for example, show you what this could look like. I mean, this is without me. I don't have reduced cooldown or anything, right? This is how many Beetles you can potentially spawn. It's hard to say if this is good or not. But this is going to be the build that I show in my video, is the Beetle build. And the idea of this build is that you just spawn lots of Beetles. And these Beetles are going to deal damage. They're hitting for 60 a second. And yeah, they're going to sustain your health, right? You're going to get healing from them. And you've teched into spell armor, so you're going to have a harder time dying to AoE. And then at 20, again, we can take Rewind or Hive Master. Honestly, Rewind sounds kind of spicy because you get even more Beetles, right? So let's really quick hit Rewind and then try to do like a full rotation here. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of Beetles. There's no way that my DPS is 257 a second. These are hitting, I mean, there's 11 Beetles hitting for 59. So I don't know. It's got to be like 700-800 DPS a second. There's something glitched about the Beetles and the DPS per second. But honestly, like, I think really powerful. So you guys will get to see this build in game. We'll do this exact build right here. And the reason again for this build being powerful in lane is your Beetles are gonna sustain for you and they're gonna push for you, and the other person won't be able to, like Rag, for example. When, let's say, he pushes into your tower, you can just freeze the wave right in front of your towers with the Beetles, right? If they keep spawning out, you'll just freeze it, and he'll have to try to kill the Beetles. They have spell armor. Yeah, you get the point. So you see a little bit of that in the game. But those are the 2 Anub'arak builds. I do really feel like this hero is well positioned currently in the meta, especially considering the resurgence of, like I said, mages. So I hope you guys kind of learn something from this video. Hopefully you can take it and use these builds to destroy your Hero League placement games. I am gonna now link a gameplay video which I will upload onto another video. You should see on the screen hopefully soon. Click that if you want to watch the Beetle build in action. If not, take that build, go own some noobs. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. So again, thank you all so much for the support. Check me out on Twitch and Twitter. Those are located below. Make sure to throw a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'll see you guys then. Cheers.